Greetings again, everybody. Greetings and salutations, everybody. Welcome to the best damn movie-related show on the planet Earth, the John Campea Show, coming to you from right here, again, on my YouTube channel. I am, of course, your host, John Campea, and it is an awesome honor and privilege, as it is every day, to have you, our international friends, gather around as we get together to talk about our favorite things in the world, movies, movie news, TV, streaming, and all that sorts of things. And hello to all of you guys who are watching live today. We got a bit of a special launch time because Rob had an important appointment he had to keep, so we decided to bump the start time of the show today. We'll be back to our regular start time tomorrow. But speaking of which, he is here. He is, in all of his fully vaccinated glory, Mr. Robert Meyer Burnett. Robert, how you doing today, sir?
John, not only did I get my second dose of Moderna, but while I was waiting after the shot, you have to wait like 20 minutes before they let you go, I booked tickets to see Army of the Dead in IMAX at the world-famous Chinese theater on my actual birthday, which is this Saturday. First movie in 15 months, John. At one of my most favorite theaters in all the world.
That is absolutely glorious. I'm so glad you're able to do that. And listen, guys, speaking of being glad, we're glad that you guys are here joining us today for this marvelous day. We do have a lot of things to talk about here today, so here's how today's going to go. We're going to start off by taking, in the first half of the show, some predetermined topics, and then we're going to get into the second half of the show where we will take your live comments and questions. How do you get a live comment or question on the show? It's easy. Simply use the tip link that's down in the description of the video below. You can click on it there, or you can enter it in manually at www.streamelements.com/movieblogtv/tip. You'll be getting your comment or question on the show if it's appropriate for the show. And of course, by tipping, you'll be supporting the channel at the same time. And all of us here involved with the John Campea Show, thank you guys very, very much for your support. Okay, guys. With all that down, let's do one off the top here, shall we? And that one off the top is this. You know, Rob, one of the movies, one of the many movies that became one of the victims of the pandemic, of course, was a movie that I think was supposed to come out like in early 2020, I believe, which was Dev Patel's The Green Knight. Yeah. Now, the first trailer for it came out ages ago, and it looked very intriguing, you know, all that kind of stuff. But now they've dropped another trailer. And of course, this is based on the actual Arthurian mythology of Sir Gawain and the Green Knight. And this trailer looks absolutely awesome. I loved it. I ate it up. Joel Edgerton, of course, Uncle Owen himself is in there as well, which looks totally good. Alicia Vikander is in there as well. And it just looks like an awesome story. I've always been a fan of Dev Patel. Whenever he pops up and stuff, I've really been impressed with him, and I've always thought he should actually be more active. But at any rate, this trailer I thought looked really fantastic. Rob, what did you think about it? Dude,
I mean, I thought it looked just wonderful. You know, we live in this age where the combination of our cinema, the cinematography and the technology we have available combined with CG, one of the great things that we can be provided is fantasy that we could only read about once, made, you know, writ large on the big screen. And this looks like, you know, after Lord of the Rings, you realize anything is possible, but there looked like there's a lyricism to this and just a beauty. I mean, every single shot in this trailer was breathtaking. And I'm like, man, you know, when he says at the end, it's why does a knight do what he does? For honor. I was like, yeah, man. I was getting chills.
And look, at one of the other things you notice too is that we know it is by A24. Of course, it's been a little while. It's been a beat since we've had an A24 movie. But as you watch the trailer, it's like, this is a quintessential A24 feel. Like, it totally has that feel of an A24 film. So anyway, guys, question for you is, did you have a chance to see the trailer, the new trailer that's come out for The Green Knight with Dev Patel, Joel Edgerton, Alicia Vikander? If so, what did you guys think? Jump down into the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. Okay, guys. With that down, let's get into our main topics today. And how do we select our main topics here on the John Campea Show? Well, it's really rather simple. You see, you guys come up with them. Whenever you come across a big story, issue, or topic that you think we should have as a main topic here on the John Campea Show, go anytime 24/7 over to www.thejohncampeashow.com/contact. Once you guys get there, you're going to see a form. Fill it out with your topic or question. It's completely free. hit submit, and then maybe, just maybe, you might see your submission featured as a main topic here on the John Campea Show. With that down, let's get on to main topic number 1. And our first main topic today gets submitted to us by Edward. And Edward writes, "Hello, John. I never really cared about the Golden Globes. Something about it I don't like, unlike the Oscars. The news broke that NBC will not air the Golden Globes in 2022 due to the ongoing Hollywood Foreign Press Association controversy. Thanks, and what are your thoughts on this?" All right, thanks a lot for sending that in, man. And yeah, this is the story of the day. This is something that's been building and building and building, and now it's hitting something of a crescendo, and it's something that we need to address in some detail here. Now, just to be clear, you're going to hear two different terms, the Golden Globes and the Hollywood Foreign Press Association. The Hollywood Foreign Press Association is the organization that puts on the Golden Globes, much like the Academy of Motion Pictures Arts and Sciences is the organization that is responsible for and puts on the Oscars, right? So when you hear us talking about either the Golden Globes or the Hollywood Foreign Press, the Golden Globes is the event. The Hollywood Foreign Press is the actual body that puts on the Golden Globes. Capiche? All right. So what is the difference? And this, Rob, I think it's important here that we lay a little bit of groundwork just so we fully get the context here of what we're discussing. To put this in context a little bit, the Academy is made up of 10,000 voting members. Now, the Academy is the ones that put on the Academy Awards. The Academy has about 10,000 voting members, and those members are made up of actors, directors, writers, film executives, musicians, publicists, on and on and on and on. Basically speaking, the Academy of Motion Pictures Arts and Sciences, who put on the Oscars, is made up of a voting body of about 10,000 people. To generalize it, who work in film, Rob. It's about 10,000 people who work in the art and promoting and making and distributing movies. That's who puts on the Academy Awards. The Hollywood Foreign Press Association is a little bit different. The Hollywood Foreign Press Association, if I can get this in here right, is made up of 87 members. 87 members makes up the Hollywood Foreign Press Association who put on the Golden Globes. And these 87 members are not filmmakers. They're film journalists who live in Los Angeles but work for a foreign outlet. Okay? So we understand that. The Hollywood Foreign Press Association has 87 members who they're not filmmakers, but they are film journalists who live in Los Angeles but work for a foreign outlet. Rob, technically speaking, I qualify for the Hollywood Foreign Press.
Of course you do.
The John Campea Show is a Canadian show. It is but I live in Los Angeles, so technically I qualify to be in the Hollywood Foreign Press. That's an important thing to understand as we get into this. Now, yes, you probably saw the news yesterday. Now, NBC is the network that airs the Golden Globes. And yesterday was just the latest in punches that the Hollywood Foreign Press has taken, as NBC is not going to air the Golden Globes in 2022. They, Rob, along with a lot of other people in Hollywood, are kind of boycotting the Golden Globes. The question is why? Why is Tom Cruise returning his Golden Globes? We'll talk about that in a bit. Why is, Scarlett Johansson and Mark Ruffalo and other celebrities, Ava DuVernay, coming out and speaking against the Golden Globes? Why is NBC polling the Golden Globe broadcast and all that kind of stuff? It really comes down to a number of things. And I want us to jump over here for a second into the Campea Classroom. Let's go in here for a second, shall we? So indulge me as we go into the Campea Classroom for a moment. By the way, Rob Lau sends in a super chat badge in the live chat. Thanks a lot for that, man. So there are three main problems. Actually, there's many other, but it can fall under three main categories, okay? The one big problem that everybody is focusing on, and it's not even the main problem, I contend, is representation. So by representation, here's the problem. The Hollywood Foreign Press has 87 members, all right? 87 members of the Hollywood Foreign Press. The problem is, if I can get this in here properly, there we go. Out of 87 members, they have no black members whatsoever. And as a matter of fact, according to one voting member of the Hollywood Foreign Press, who has been a member since 2002, they spoke to Variety or the Los Angeles Times anonymously and said, listen, I've been a member 2002, almost 20 years, and there's never been a black member in our ranks. Now, if you have a group of 4 or 5 people and you don't happen to have, some diversity in your group, okay, it's 4 or 5 people. You get into a group of 10, 11, 12, it's like, well, maybe that's something you should address. Once you get into 50, 60, 70, 80 plus members, and it wasn't just this year, but last year and the year before that and the year before that, going back at least 20 years, Rob, maybe it's longer. All we know is that it's been at least 20 years. It raises the question of, is there an agenda of exclusion in your group? When you have 87 members, and one of the members is saying, listen, I've been around for 20 years, and we ain't ever had a black man or woman in our organization allowed into our organization. At that point, you have to ask the question, is there an agenda of exclusion going on? And that's been a big thing. And a lot of people in Hollywood are asking, well, wait a minute. How can you have so little representation on your board and when you're handing out awards to art that is filled with representation? How does that make sense? Is there an agenda of exclusion going on? Now, that's the one most people are focusing on. Most people are focusing on this issue of there being no representation. But there are 2 other major issues going on with the Hollywood Foreign Press. And one of those is corruption. What do we mean by corruption? Okay, we mean this. Let me see if I can bring this back up here for just a second. I'm not totally sure I can, but I hope that I can. Okay, let's bring this up again. Let's look at the top line of the Academy and the Hollywood Foreign Press. The Academy has 10,000 voting members, Rob. 10,000 voting members. That means if you bribe 50 members of the Academy, that's like 0.05% of the voting board or something along those lines. Like 0.0 something along those lines, right? Whereas with the Hollywood Foreign Press, if you're able to bribe 50 members of the Hollywood Foreign Press, that's significantly more than the half of the voting body of that. Now,
Right.
This goes all the way back to a movie called, and I just want to set this up before we get to the Emily in Paris situation. This goes all the way back to The Tourist, okay? With Johnny Depp and Angelina Jolie. Terrible movie, right? Now, I want you to notice that The Tourist has a 20% Rotten Tomato meter reading, right? The thing is, a bunch of the Hollywood Foreign Press outlets also gave The Tourist negative reviews when it came out. So remember, these are film critics, and they all gave it negative reviews. But when Golden Globe time came around, these same voting members of the Hollywood Foreign Press that gave negative reviews to The Tourist, they went, you know what we need at our Golden Globes? We need Johnny Depp and Angelina Jolie to come to our awards show. And so they gave it a nomination for Best Picture. These same people who gave the movie a negative reviews across the board because they wanted Johnny Depp and Angelina Jolie at their show, they nominated The Tourist for Best Picture that year. And this has happened, Rob, again and again and again and again and again. It kind of culminated in a situation with Emily in Paris this year. This is where everybody finally stood up and said, we can't ignore this situation anymore. So for those of you who may not know, there's a television show called Emily in Paris. All right. It stars Lily Collins, Phil Collins' daughter. I love Lily Collins, by the way. Let's just put that out there. I think Lily Collins is awesome. I love Lily Collins. But Emily in Paris was not really received all that well. It wasn't received well, Rob. I think the last time I checked, it had like a 59% critic rating and all that kind of stuff. And so it was with a great amount of confusion that when Best Series came up at the Golden Globes, Emily in Paris got one of the nominations, and which confused everybody. Everybody was just like, wait a minute, what? Like a best comedy, I think it was best musical comedy, whatever they call their categories there at the Golden Globes. It's like best comedy series or whatever. And it caused massive confusion across the board. As a matter of fact, even the writer of Emily in Paris, said, wait a minute, we did not deserve a nomination. We did not deserve a nomination, especially when a show that had a 97% rating, I May Destroy You, which was raved by a lot of the critics as like one of the best things on television in years, did not get nominated. And the very writer of Emily in Paris came out and said, wait a minute, hey, listen, I'm very proud of my show, but we did not deserve this. We were not that good. Well, what came out was that the Hollywood Foreign Press, the producers of Emily in Paris, took 30 members of the Hollywood Foreign Press, flew them all to Paris, put them up in a legitimate 5-star hotel. They were there for 3 days, and as one member of the Hollywood Foreign Press put it, we were treated like kings for 3 or 4 days. They got a lot of gifts. They got a lot of... Now, look, Rob, what's not unusual, it's not unusual for studios to fly critics to a location for a press junket. That's not tremendously unusual. But as somebody who has been flown to places for a press junket, I will tell you how these visits go. You fly somewhere for 5 hours, get picked up. You have to take your own cab to a cheap hotel. You rush in, do the things, and maybe you stay for one night and you're immediately shipped off in the morning. All the studio wanted was when all the press interviews went out, you saw the background of wherever the movie is supposed to take place and all that kind of stuff. But they don't treat, the journalists all that great. But the Hollywood Foreign Press, 30 people. Now again, Rob, if this was the Emmys or if this was the Academy, 30 people ain't but 0.002% of the voting body. But 30 people represents over 1/3 of the voting body of the Hollywood Foreign Press, because the Hollywood Foreign Press only has 87 voting members.
Right.
You suddenly bring out 30 of them, and then look at that. Emily in Paris gets a nomination for Best Series or Best Comedy Series, whatever it was, to the chagrin of a lot of people. And so, even though it has been going on for years and years and years and years, for some reason, Rob, it was the Emily in Paris one that finally got people's attention. Because I've been talking about this since The Tourist, okay? I've been talking about this forever, and ain't nobody ever listened to me. But for whatever reason, Emily in Paris became the one that everybody wanted to recognize and think. And so this goes on and on. This is just a quick example of it. But there is a third problem, and that is financial improprieties. All right? Financial improprieties. So the Hollywood Foreign Press is technically speaking a charitable organization, right? They take in tens, if not hundreds of millions of dollars a year from their TV contracts for things like the Golden Globes and things like all that kind of stuff. And then they're supposed to use that money to put into, charitable works, film school programs and things to enhance the art and whatever. The Los Angeles Times, though, back in February of this year, the Los Angeles Times ran a full expose showing the mismanagement and the mishandling of that money that the Hollywood Foreign Press was getting. They were giving the money out to their members, and they would hide it by saying, oh, you know, a bunch of you members serve on certain committees, and they paid out over $2 million, Rob, in, I don't know what you call it, like in bursaries or whatever, $2 million to their own members for serving on a committee or something along those lines. Things that the Los Angeles Times pointed out actually broke federal law for them to do. And there's ongoing investigations going on about all of that stuff. Now, compound all of that with the fact that the Hollywood Foreign Press has then been acting like bullies. This comes to us from that Los Angeles Times report, who talks about a Norwegian journalist named Kirster Fla, who was suing the Hollywood Foreign Press for denying her entry into the body. Now, this is what the Los Angeles Times wrote. In her suit, and I'm sure I'm mispronouncing Kirsty's first name, but Kirsty Fla accused the Hollywood Foreign Press of institutionalizing a culture of corruption, claiming the tax-exempt organization operated as a kind of cartel, barring qualified applicants, including herself, and monopolizing all important press access while improperly subsidizing its members' income. The group, Flaw asserted, was rife with ethical conflicts, with members accepting thousands of dollars in emoluments from the very same studios, networks, and celebrities they conferred trophies upon, all of it hidden behind a code of silence. This is the stuff that has been going out the Hollywood Foreign Press. And Rob, I want to point out that Flaw's lawsuit got dismissed, not because her accusations were proven false. On the contrary, they seem to have been proven true, but a legal technicality, she was unable to show how she herself was personally hurt by what the Hollywood Foreign Press was doing, and therefore the legal terminology is standing. She didn't have standing to bring that lawsuit, and therefore the suit was dismissed, even though everything she was claiming in the suit was pretty much true, as far as we can tell. So, Rob, the Hollywood Foreign Press, tell me if you like this analogy or not. The Hollywood Foreign Press and the Golden Globes have never been important. They are like Bitcoin. They're not actually valuable. They only have value because for decades now, we just say they have value. We just say it has value, and therefore people treat it as if it has value. The Academy is made up of 10,000 people in the filmmaking industry who every year recognize their own art and the people within and recognize excellence. The Hollywood Foreign Press Association, 87 members who want Johnny Depp and Angelina Jolie to come to their party. And they put on a great show. Rob, they put on a great show. I ain't ever denied they don't put on a good show. The Golden Globes are a good show. I've never taken that away from them. But Rob, between no representation in their body, which is what most people are paying attention to absolute easy corruption in their body itself, to financial improprieties for how they handle the funds and giving out money to their own members. This has gone on and on and on. Now, they say, the Hollywood Foreign Press right now is saying that we're working on, some reforms. We're working on some reforms, but their reforms are coming way short because what the industry is asking, here's what the industry wants. The industry wants the Hollywood Foreign Press Association to add 2 times new members plus 1. So since there are currently 87 voting members of the Hollywood Foreign Press Association, the industry is asking the Hollywood Foreign Press Association to add another 87 members plus 1. Why do they want 87 new members plus 1? Because they want new members to outnumber the old members in the Hollywood Foreign Press. And the changes and reforms that the Hollywood Foreign Press is currently proposing falls way short of what the industry is kind of asking the Hollywood Foreign Press Association to do. And so in the midst of all of this, NBC has come out and said, we're pulling the Golden Globes. We're not going to do the Golden Globes in 2022. Hopefully, over the next year, the Hollywood Foreign Press will get their act together and we can resume showing the Golden Globes in 2023. And I'll tell you right now, Rob, I don't think it's going to happen. I mean, I don't know. It's way too early to call for sure. I'm just saying right now, my gut is that it's not going to happen. I think the Hollywood Foreign Press Association is done. I honestly think, not right now, not in the next week, but I don't know that they're going to recover from this. It's just too much. Anyway, Rob, that was a lot of context. That was a lot of information. That was a lot of, history we've just laid out there. I know you were sitting back last night seeing all this stuff rolling out, and you've taken it all in and your experience in the industry. What is your take on this whole situation right now?
Well, I think to me, this is exactly the kind of thing that should be happening. This is the kind of reform. I mean, whether it is because people want to see more diversity within the Hollywood Foreign Press, or it's a response to this kind of corruption and credibility problem that the Hollywood Foreign Press has had for decades. I think this is exactly the kind of necessary reform and necessary change that has to happen. And I think the pressure that Hollywood itself has been putting on the Hollywood Foreign Press is proper and correct. The idea of the Hollywood Foreign Press, John, I think is good. That the rest of the world is commenting on Hollywood's product and weighs in, because obviously, the movies that we make in Hollywood are consumed by the entire planet Earth. And it only seems fair that the rest of the world has a voice in terms of saying what's good entertainment and what's bad entertainment. So I like the idea behind the Hollywood Foreign Press. But as you have pointed out, since you and I have been streaming together, you've never been a fan of the Golden Globes. You've always dismissed it. And I think it's proven that you were correct in your assessment. While I like the show and it's nice to see celebrities get a little drunk and say funny things on a podium.
It totally is. It's great.
I mean, I love it. I love Ricky Gervais, and it was great. But at the end of the day, I mean, we have a maturity issue in our culture. And there's ways of doing things. Look, I'm not a fan of cancel culture, but I am a fan of seeing reform and seeing legitimacy brought back to our institutions, because it's a long time coming. And I think something like this is absolutely legitimate. I think it needs to happen. I think the Hollywood Foreign Press, we can all look, it's like they're going to have to go to therapy now. And that's sometimes not bad for anybody to do a little self-examination and find out, like you said, maybe the Hollywood Foreign Press has come to the end of its time. Maybe something else will rise from the ashes that has more representation, that represents the world more than the Hollywood Foreign Press currently does. And maybe we'll have a voting body that is made up by 1,000 people or 10,000 people that all weigh in on what they think of movies that Hollywood produces around the world. I think it can only be a good thing. I'll be sorry to see one award show go away one night of the year, but something I think better will arise and take its place.
Yeah, and I agree, because look, you know me, I am a big fan of the Oscars, even though I didn't watch them this year when they aired.
Yeah.
But I'm a big fan of the Oscars, but there needs to be a viable, I feel like in award season, there needs to be a true second. And say all that I have said about the Golden Globes over the years, at least there was a true viable second there, even though I never liked it and never gave it any credit, but there was a true second show there. But it needs to be a show that has a built-in system to insulate itself from the type of corruption and fraud and everything that we've seen play out in the Golden Globe year after year after year. They need to have built-in, systems in place to make sure that they're financially accountable and all that sort of stuff. But I don't know what that's going to be. I don't think it should be the Broadcast Film Critics. I am friends with many, many members of the Broadcast Film Critics Association, but that's not your true second. I don't think I don't know, maybe the producer, I don't know. I have no answer for that, but it's a messy situation, Rob, and it's sure to get messy, and we're not done talking about it yet today.
No.
But before we get on to that next topic, the question is for you guys. What do you make of this whole situation with NBC finally stepping forward and saying, look, we can't broadcast the Golden Globes anymore, not with the Hollywood Foreign Press Association being the way it is? Do you agree with the decision? Do you disagree? Did you find some of the information we presented surprising? Did you not know about it? Did you already? Jump down to the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. Okay, guys. With that down, Let's move on to main topic number 2, shall we? And our second main topic today, staying on topic of the Hollywood Foreign Press, gets sent in to us by, that's the wrong screen. Gets sent in to us by Darren Grissom. And Darren Grissom writes, "Hey, John and Rob, I wanted to know your thoughts on the latest with the Hollywood Foreign Press. Apparently, Tom Cruise has taken it up a notch and sent back all 3 of his Golden Globes to the organization, saying he doesn't want them anymore. Do you think this move is the right one? And do you think it might spark other celebrities to send back their own Golden Globes?" All right, thanks a lot for sending that in, man. And yes, yesterday the hits just kept on coming. Because earlier we had heard about, earlier, not before yesterday, ScarJo and others come out, start speaking out about it. We've heard Ava DuVernay come out, speak out about it. NBC came and dropped this hammer. And then Tom Cruise, I didn't see this coming. I didn't know what to expect. Kind of came out of nowhere, took his 3 Golden Globes that I think he won for Born on the 4th of July, Steel Magnolias, and I can't remember what the third one was for, but he took his 3 Golden Globe Awards, he packed them up into a box, packed them up all nice and neat into a box, and literally shipped it to the front reception desk of the Hollywood Foreign Press Association, basically saying, I don't even want these damn things anymore. Which is...
By the way, I just want to point out, it was Magnolia, not Steel Magnolia.
Thank you. Magnolia. Thank you. Yes, not Steel Magnolias. Totally different movie. Steel Magnolias. Totally different movie. Thank you for the correction on that. So he just upped, sent all of his stuff in, and there it is. This comes to us from the folks over at Variety, who writes, "It is the most high-profile repudiation yet of the Hollywood Foreign Press Association from a single star, after several actors, including Scarlett Johansson and Mark Ruffalo, called for the industry to step back from the Globes until more substantial reforms are put in place with the Hollywood Foreign Press Association organization. Netflix, Amazon, and Warner Media have all announced boycotts of the Hollywood Foreign Press Association, and NBC Universal announced on Monday that NBC would not air the Golden Globes in 2022, which we already discussed. But so we've got ScarJo, Mark Ruffalo, other stars, but also studios, Rob, Netflix, Amazon, Warner Media, and more, I'm sure, to come, all announcing that they are boycotting it. But I think the article in Variety is correct. Nothing stands out more than one of the biggest movie stars in the world just walking right up and saying, yeah, take these back. I don't even want them. Now, Rob, I'm a little bit torn on this because on the one hand, you being honored shouldn't be taken away from just because the people who honored you got discredited, right? Like if there was some soldier, I think it's the president. I could be mistaken. I don't know much about the American military, but I think a president will pin a Medal of Honor on a soldier or something like that. If it later finds out that the president got disgraced, like I don't know if it was Richard Nixon or something, that shouldn't take away from the individual soldier's honor for the award that they got. So on the one hand, I don't know if it was necessary for Tom Cruise to send them back. But at the same time, part of the problem of the Hollywood Foreign Press that's coming out is that even their voting system is a total sham. So now I can just see Tom Cruise sitting down and looking at his Golden Globes, because he doesn't have an Oscar yet, looking at his Golden Globes and saying, did I even really earn this? Considering what's coming to light about how the Hollywood Foreign Press even handles their voting system and how they can be influenced with the 80-something people in there. And did I just get these because I'm Tom Cruise? And they wanted the visual clip of me on the stage holding it. And so I can just picture Tom Cruise looking at it saying, I don't even know that this has value anymore. I don't know that to me, this even feels like it has any value now. So, hey, Junior, bring me a box. Ship it out. And away it goes. And I'll tell you what, I, for one, applaud Tom Cruise. Now, Tom Cruise is not always dealing with a full deck, I don't think, but hey, that's just me. But I actually really applaud him for that, because whether the Hollywood Foreign Press gets disgraced or not, you got something that a lot of other people wish they had. And for you to be willing to go, you know what, this just stinks. It stinks so bad that even this trophy is starting to smell. throw it away. And I got to say, I'm kind of impressed. Anyway, Rob, you saw this. I mean, in the midst of Netflix boycotting them, Amazon, WB and Warner Brothers and all that kind of stuff, does Tom Cruise sending back his Golden Globes actually stand out more than that, or do you think some of the other ones are more significant? So what do you think about this?
No, I think Tom Cruise was like the icing on the cake. I mean, he's, as you know, if they're trying to curry favor with star power to get people to tune in and watch their show, Tom Cruise is probably the longest lasting movie star that we have. Obviously, he's making the Mission Impossible franchise has been around for over 25 years now. His star wattage has seldom, it's hardly diminished since '83 when he starred in Risky Business. And for him to come out and say it, he's exactly the kind of person they'd want to curry favor from. He's the last person they'd want to badmouth them. And I think by him doing this, he realized that, you know what? I have the power, the same way he had the power to shoot a movie during COVID and make sure all of his people were taken care of. And he rents a cruise ship to house everyone on so they can remain COVID free when they're shooting Mission Impossible. He's a guy who's always put his money where his mouth is. Well, now he's putting his star wattage where his beliefs are. And he's saying something that you cannot deny. Have your awards back. I mean, I don't think that there's anything that diminishes the Golden Globes more than having someone like Tom Cruise saying, nope, I don't need your awards anymore. I mean, that's got to be devastating. That's a huge blow. And I think maybe that's the kind of thing that more than anything they need to hear.
Rob, let me ask you this. Do you think, you remember the Ice Bucket Challenge when everybody started doing, do you think with Tom Cruise doing this, we could see a new Ice Bucket Challenge 2.0 of various celebrities across the world filming themselves doing videos of disposing of their Golden Globes? Do you think that could become like a trending thing now?
You know, I wouldn't put it past them. But on the other hand, you know, there's still the audience that tuned in, and the audience around the world was sort of unaware of all of this. And there is something to be said that, you know, we, the audience, unaware of what was going on behind the scenes, we still tuned in. And there was something to be said for seeing the Golden Globes. There was a bit of glitz and glamour. And, you know, there was a lot of heartfelt emotion. And you know how hard it is to make movies. John, you've done it yourself. So even though that the organization was corrupt and not always certainly on the up and up, you know, there was something to be said. I grew up tuning in, watching the Golden Globes. And for me as a viewer and as a movie lover, there still was a bit of magic seeing those celebrities all in one place, having a bit of fun. You certainly got a little bit more of their personality than you did at the Oscars, who they were as people. And it wasn't all horrible. Like there was something as I was as a kid, as a movie fan, watching the Golden Globes my whole life. I was inspired by those award shows in a certain way. Now, I don't know. I mean, I could see celebrities giving everything back, but it's too bad that institutions like this that did mean something to me growing up just turn out to be rotten. And I think, you know, we as movie fans, I don't know. We always have all of our illusions shattered. I guess, you know, you stay around long enough, you see yourself become the villain. Well, you stay around long enough and all of your dreams, especially Hollywood dreams, well, they get shattered. Maybe that's what's supposed to happen, but in a way, it's kind of sad.
The question is for you guys. What did you guys think of Tom Cruise actually packing up and shipping off his Golden Globe Awards? I actually think it's a pretty cool thing that he did. I don't know. What do you guys think about it? Jump on down to the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. Okay, guys. With that down, let's move on to main topic number 3, shall we? And our third main topic today gets submitted to us by Frank H. And Frank H. writes, "Hello, community. John, I know you love Knives Out. I completely did. I love that movie. And I did too. So I wanted to know if you saw that they just cast their first new cast member, Dave Bautista. Drax the Destroyer himself. They haven't said anything about his character yet, but I'm sure he'll be one of the new suspects. What do you think of the casting, and how do you think Dave will do in it? All right, thanks a lot for sending that in, man. And yes, I love Knives Out. I cannot rave about that movie enough. I was so taken with this very simple... Rob, it's a very simple film. The old Agatha Christie kind of murder mystery, gather a bunch of great talented people together, put them in a couple of rooms, film this mystery. It was fan-freaking-tastic. And of course, because he made it so fantastic, Rian Johnson got rewarded with a $468 million check from Netflix just for the rights to put his next two Knives Out up on Netflix. Well, anyway, we know they're going to start shooting Knives Out 2 in just a couple of months. And yes, but not only did we just find out, Rob, that Dave Bautista is the first new cast member. Of course, he'll be joining Daniel Craig, who returns as the inspector. But the first new cast member they have added is Dave Bautista. But breaking news, not only is Dave Bautista been added, Ed Norton has joined as well. And I love it. Listen, Ed Norton, look, he started to develop a bit of a reputation around Hollywood as being very, very difficult to work with. And so we haven't seen him a lot. But man, remember him in Birdman, Rob? Acting alongside Michael Keaton. How good was he in Birdman? Well, forget it. How good is Ed Norton in everything? He's great in everything. So now we've got our first two new cast members joining in for Knives Out 2, and Dave Bautista and Ed Norton. You know, I have been a big fan of Dave Bautista. He sometimes has verbal diarrhea. He sometimes talks when he shouldn't talk, and he sometimes says some pretty stupid things, but he's learning. He's learning. I've been a big fan of this guy for a long time. You will rarely find a more humble, genuine person in this business than Dave. He's always been great. When we did our 24-hour marathon for the typhoon relief in the Philippines, he was the first guy to say, I'll participate with you and help you raise some money. I mean, he's just that type of a dude. I couldn't be happier for him. And of course, Ed Norton. He's Rob, I like to refer to Ed Norton as my co-star in that Incredible Hulk movie. I think that's how Ed Norton refers to himself when he goes to parties. Hi, my name's Ed Norton, co-star with John Campea in the Incredible Hulk movie.
Absolutely.
But as somebody who loves Knives Out and cannot wait for a Knives Out 2, I love these two editions. Rob, you had a chance to see these editions here. What do you think of them?
I think they're great. I mean, you know, one of the great things, obviously, I think that's going to become a staple of these movies is the diverse cast. And when I mean diverse, I mean great actors, a bunch of great actors that are put together that you wouldn't have normally thought would even get together. And yet that's what I think that's the great appeal of at least the first Knives Out, is how many great disparate actors came together to be in that movie. It was awesome.
And it just had a flow and just a personality to it. And I was just hanging, and you can't make one of these kind of Agatha Christie things without a great central character. And what is the Blanc? Is that Daniel Craig's?
Benoit Blanc.
Yeah, I love the character. This is great new addition for the cast. Question is to you guys. You just seen they've just added two new cast members, the first two new cast members to Knives Out 2, and Dave Bautista and Ed Norton. I think these are terrific additions for what I'm sure is going to be a terrific film. What do you guys think about it? Jump on down into the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. Okay, guys. With all that down and out of the way, let's now move on and start taking your live comments and questions. Once again, if you got a live comment or question you'd like to get on the show, simply send it in using the tip link that's in the description below, or you can enter it in manually with www.streamelements.com/movieblogtv/tip. You'll be getting your comment or question on the show if it's appropriate for the show. And of course, your tip is supporting this channel and all of us involved here at the John Campea Show. Thank you so much, guys, for that support. Okay. Let's get on over and start taking your questions. We're going to start things off here with Murray Reich, who writes, I saw Wrath of Man, and it was great. I had a wonderful time with Wrath of Man, Murray. Acting, for the most part, was phenomenal / stacked cast. Even Scott Eastwood wasn't so bad this time. You know what? Scott wasn't bad. Scott Eastwood was not bad in this. Even this time, with lots of twists and turns, action, mystery, Jason Statham and Guy Ritchie, can't go wrong, 8 out of 10. Yeah, I don't give numerical scores to movies, Murray, but I gotta say, if I did, I don't think you're far off. I think my score would probably come in pretty close to yours. It was not the movie I was expecting, but it was a pleasant surprise. I really enjoyed it, and I'm glad. If you guys have a chance, get out and see Wrath of Man. It's quite a good film. I enjoyed it a lot. All right, next up, Edmund Blackadder writes, one of two. Hello, John and crew. Over the weekend, there were reports that Henry Cavill unfollowed. Are we really talking about this? Over the weekend, there were reports that Henry Cavill unfollowed DC/Warner Brothers on social media. So I did some research, and I cannot find anything that suggests he did that in the first place. As a matter of fact, Gal Gadot and Jason Momoa don't appear to be following them either. So either they unfollowed at the same time, or this is a big nothing burger. Henry seems to have rather relaxed social media life, so I'm going with that big nothing burger. Shine on. Okay, Edmund, here, let me just say this. First of all, I believe this story, if I'm not mistaken, originated on a website called, and I'm not kidding, I believe it originated on a website called WeGotThisCovered.com, which is a site that you should always ignore, like never pay any attention to it, like whatsoever. But that being said, Rob, maybe it's because I'm over 15. I don't know. But I don't give a shit. And I'm trying to give you a hard time, Edmund. You're my film-loving brother. I'm not trying to give you a hard time, okay? I'm just saying, I don't give a shit. Really? Do you know who followed so-and-so on Twitter? Ooh, did you hear Janice unfollowed Daisy on Instagram? Ooh, the 5th grade drama. I don't give a shit about who's following who. Rob, I still can't believe I've had friends in my life. I'm not going to lie. I've had people, somebody you and I both know, Rob. Someone you and I both know. Someone you viewers watching this probably know. Honestly gave me a call. And just to see if we were cool. I'm like, what are you talking about? Of course we're cool. Why would you ask me if we're cool? Well, you know, I just noticed that you don't follow me on Twitter. Are we really fucking having this conversation right now? It's like what I literally said out loud. Are we really having this conversation? You're asking if we're cool because I don't seem to follow you on Twitter? Who gives a shit? I don't care about that. I ain't going to make my topics about, oh, did you hear so-and-so unfollowed somebody on social media? I don't care. We're over 12. I don't care. But yeah, again, the story originated from something called WeGotThisCovered.com. So don't pay any attention to it, Edmund. Don't pay any attention. Don't fall down the same black hole that I did, my friend. Don't pay any attention to it. Anyway. All right, next up. Tyler Pfeiffer writes, I really wanted to like Jupiter's Legacy. So did I, brother. But it just took far too long getting it to where it wanted to go. And when it did, I was really let down by it. It probably would have benefited from a shorter season. Absolutely not. 8 episodes was too many. Have you seen it? I did see it. And no, the problem with Jupiter's Legacy was not the length of the episodes or the number of episodes. If anything, there should be more episodes. The problem with Jupiter Ascending was that they just didn't know how to tell a good story. Like, Rob, I know you, as of the other day, you hadn't had a chance to start watching it yet. So I don't know if you've had a chance to start it yet.
No, I haven't. But, again, I read the comics and I'm excited for the show. I was excited that they chose to adapt it. I mean, if nothing else, whether people love Jupiter's Legacy or not, it's a really interesting, unique property that isn't based on any of the big comic book characters that we know. It was an indie comic, and I think it was a really interesting idea to do it. And I like the fact that it got adapted at all, the same way I like the fact that Umbrella Academy got adopted. And I really liked Umbrella Academy.
Yeah, so. But again, to me, the problem isn't that, no. They just didn't know how to tell their story properly. They focused too much time on certain things and not enough time on other things. And no, the issue and the problem was absolutely not too many episodes. If anything, there are too few episodes in stuff being done today. People are just, I don't know if we're just getting, people just don't know how to tell longer form stories anymore. And they just like, well,
right.
We only have certain numbers of good ideas, so let's shrink it down as much as we can to hide the fact that we don't have better ideas. I don't know. But the problem was they just didn't tell their story well. So that to me was the issue, Tyler. And I'm with you. I was disappointed. I didn't think it sucked. I don't think Jupiter's Legacy, I keep wanting to say Jupiter Ascending. I don't think Jupiter's Legacy sucks. It's just that I was quite disappointed with it. I expected and wanted much better from it. Anyway, Anthony R. writes, Watch Obi-Wan lifts Thor's hammer. I did see this on YouTube. The best 1 minute and 3 seconds video. It will put a smile on your face. It was cute. It was basically, for those of you who haven't seen it, it's somebody took that scene from Endgame where Cap gets the hammer, but they composite Obi-Wan from Revenge of the Sith. Say hello there, and him catching the hammer instead and battling Thanos. It's cute. It's cute. I mean, it didn't make my day or anything, but it's definitely cute. Thanks for pointing it out, Anthony. All right, Anthony R. also writes, "Hey John, who is your favorite fictional characters? It can be from movies, TV, cartoons, video games, etc. My top choices are Luke Skywalker and Batman, but my absolute favorite is Solid Snake from Metal Gear Solid. Oscar Isaac, please don't fail me." That's a huge question. Favorite fictional character at all in any medium, Rob? I don't know. I mean, don't hold me to this. I'm just going to pull this off the top of my head. I mean, my favorite comic book character is Magneto. Magneto's always has been my favorite comic book character for a very, very long time. And my favorite movie character is Luke Skywalker. So I guess I'll say that. Do you have a favorite fictional character, Rob?
Yes. And he's a good Canadian kid.
Oh, of course.
James Tiberius Kirk.
That's right. Played by the good Canadian kid, Mr. William Shatner. All right. Next up, Ryan Lohner writes, "I'm hoping Venom 2 completely plays off that lame Carnage joke dropped from the first movie, with Cletus really wanting people to call him Carnage and coming up with increasingly contrived and pathetic ways to say it when no one does." Yeah, listen, that end, the ending of the first Venom, and I love the first Venom movie, but that ending of that post-credit scene, he goes, "And when I do, there's going to be carnage." Oh, wow, that's kind of silly. But it wasn't that Cletus was saying, "I want everybody to call me Carnage." He never says. So I don't know where the Carnage name is going to come from, but I do know that I did like the trailer. And, I watched it a few more times yesterday, Rob. And you know what I didn't notice the first time I saw the trailer? There's a scene where the guy has the newspaper. I didn't realize newspaper was the Daily Bugle.
Yep.
I didn't catch that, which is interesting because the Daily Bugle in Spider-Man Far From Home is not a newspaper. It's a different media outlet. So I don't know if that's their way of saying these are two separate universes or if it's just a little quick Easter egg. But I thought that was kind of neat when I finally did notice that. What was your thought when you noticed that?
Well, I mean, I've always believed that because Venom took place across the country, on the other side of the country,
right,
there's no reason why it can't be part of the MCU. Like, why wouldn't it? They don't Venom, the Avengers, and because it's a smaller scale thing, they just don't know Venom's there yet. So maybe we're going to see Morbius and Venom and everybody more incorporated into the MCU sooner or even at all than we even thought. So I think it's kind of cool. I like it.
All right. Next up, we've got Melchorzilla writes, "Do you think we will ever get a Toy Story 5? The way they wrapped up 3 was a perfect ending to a trilogy, but then they found a way to bring it back and end it again in a great way. But they make a lot of money. What do you think?" That's a good question, Rob. This is one that we were asking ourselves too back when Toy Story 4 came out and was in. He's like, do we think that they could do a Toy Story 5? I'm of two minds right now. And here's my two minds, Rob. On the one hand, I think absolutely yes. If the minds at Pixar can come up again, they waited until they had the right story. They never rushed to Toy Story 4. They never decided they were going to do one. But when somebody came up with a great idea for one, then they moved forward, they did it, and Toy Story 4 was fantastic. So add on top of that the fact that it's such a recognizable property, such a valuable property. These are beloved characters that if they come up with another idea again to pick it up, I think they will. The one thing, Rob, that makes me quasi-doubt that they'll do that is John Lasseter. Is that maybe, the new leadership at Pixar will just say, you know what? Toy Story will forever be associated with Pixar, but almost symbolically, we need to move on from that. That kind of represents the Lasseter era of Pixar. We're moving on to something else. That's the only thing I have that makes me doubt it a little bit. But overall, yeah, if you ask me, if I had to put $10 on it and we said by, 2029, could we have a Toy Story 5? I would probably bet yes. But the one thing against it, I think, is the Lasser thing. I don't know, Rob, do you think we're going to get a Toy Story 5 at any point?
Never say never. I mean, those movies, it's not like those movies didn't make any money. And I think you know, John, as well as I do, if something is still profitable. And, Toy Story is kind of a franchise that no one dislikes. Everybody loves. Who doesn't love Toy Story? So if they come up with a good story, and they maybe have a new character idea or something, I do not think I never thought we'd see an Indiana Jones 5.
Yeah, I still don't think we're going to get Indiana Jones 5.
So Toy Story 5, hardly out of the realm of possibility.
All right. And of course, don't forget, we've got that Buzz Lightyear thing that they announced a while ago. So it's going to be interesting to see what they do with that. All right, next up, Jedi Koth writes, as I started watching Jupiter's Legacy, I thought, oh no, will its many cliches start people's feared comic fatigue? But ultimately, I ended up enjoying it by the end. Even with all its cheesiness, I thought Ian Quinlan, the teleport guy, was a bright star. Yeah, the guy who plays Sky Fox's son. He was an interesting character in it. And they started doing some interesting things with him and the Utopian's daughter, and that was kind of interesting. Look, like I said, man, there are good things about Jupiter's Legacy. And especially whenever it was focusing on the whole philosophical debate about, it was almost an existential discussion about what does the code mean in a modern world that is a very different world than the world was when the code was made in the first place. And whenever it focused on that, I was really on board with it. It's just a lot of the other stuff kind of felt very lackluster, to say the least, including Utopian's daughter, which I thought was all wasted screen time. No disrespect to the actress. She was just playing the part. But I mean, yeah, so that was just me, man. That was just me. Maybe I have to give it a second watch through. We'll see. All right. Scott Brown writes, thank you for recommending Ted Lasso. Cannot wait for Ted Lasso season 2, my friends. It is absolutely hilarious from beginning to end and has so much heart, and all the characters are so good. It just makes you feel good watching it. Ted just makes you want to be a better human. Diamond dogs for life. Listen, Rob, I don't know. I can't remember if we've discussed it. Have you watched Ted Lasso yet?
I have not.
You and Elizabeth must watch Ted Lasso.
I know.
And it's a quick watch because they're just like 30 minutes. I think there's like 12 episodes and they're like 30 minutes each. Or there might be less than 12.
Everyone loves it. Everybody loves Ted Lasso. I've heard this from everybody I know practically, and I feel shame. I feel great shame, John, that I have yet to catch up.
Yeah, dude, listen, it's fun. You will enjoy it. And you got to get on it before season 2 launches. You got to get on it before season 2 launches. All right. Anyway, Scott, I'm glad you got on board with it, dude, because I absolutely love that show. All right. Alan writes, hey, John, in Venom 2 trailer, we see the Daily Bugle a few times. We were just talking about that. We see the Daily Bugle a few times, and this got me thinking, do you think this is an indication that we will see a Spider-Man in this movie, or could it just be a fun Easter egg? Rob, my impression is that it's an Easter egg. I don't think it symbolizes, let me rephrase that. I don't think it means anything. If you understand what I mean when I say that. I don't think the fact that it said the Daily Bugle on that newspaper means something. I think it is a fun Easter egg. I don't think it necessarily means anything. That doesn't mean nothing is coming. Not that, but I don't think them putting in that newspaper is supposed to be a flare in the air like the fires have been lit. Gondor calls for aid. I don't think it's like that. I don't think it means anything. But I don't know, Rob, is there a deeper meaning, do you think, to that paper showing up?
Deeper meaning? I think it just means that this is set in the MCU. They wanted you to know that. I think that they're going to finally admit to this. Whatever's going on with Spider-Man, we know that there's a multi-dimensional something or other. I mean, we've got J. Jonah Jameson played by J.K. Simmons from Sony's Spider-Verse, the previous Spider-Verse. So I think it makes sense. I mean, I think there's going to be some kind of a reckoning showing that all of these characters are appearing in the same place, the same universe.
Now, you know how I feel about that. I don't think the J. Jonah we saw at the end of Far From Home is at all related to the J. Jonah that he played in the other Spider-Man. And I think in Far From Home, the thing was that the Bugle was an online network rather than a newspaper. So I don't know. But I mean, maybe they could say it's both. Maybe they're going to say this is all tied in. I don't know. Personally, right now, I think it's just an Easter egg, but we don't have long to find out, Rob, what it really is. So we'll find out soon enough. All right. Next up, Alan writes, "Hey, John, I saw the Venom 2 trailer and I loved it. It introduced Patrick Mulligan, who in the comics is the first host of Toxin. Do you think we could see this character in the movie, or is this an Easter egg for Venom 3? I don't think they're putting Easter eggs, Rob, in trailers. I don't think they're putting Easter eggs for possible future movies in trailers for this movie. No. So, no, I don't. And somebody who called themselves "We Got This Covered" sent in a super chat badge in the live chat. Thanks, man. That's funny. So no, I look, like last time we had multiple symbiotes, right? We had multiple ones in the last movie. I don't see why we couldn't have multiple ones again. I think that was kind of hinted at. What do you think, Rob?
I don't know. I don't know what to say, John, about that exactly.
I mean, it is a big, because just because they showed multiple symbiotes last time, it doesn't automatically mean that they will this time too. But
I mean, you know, they what if Carnage comes with a whole army of little Carnages? No,
right, which they did do in the last one, sort of, but
yeah,
sometimes they'll try not to repeat, but sometimes they try to follow a pattern. So I don't know. It'll be interesting to see how they go with that.
I got to tell you, you know, the one shot in the trailer where Carnage is, what do you call him, blooming in full glory?
Yeah.
I'm like, I like that.
Yeah.
You know, Carnage has always kind of, to me, been a rip-off character, sort of. I mean, I get it, but I have to say, in the context of this movie, I could see them having failed symbiotes, maybe. Like you'll see some weird, twisted, kind of like seeing Snokes that didn't really work out in Rise of Skywalker. Maybe they'll have something like that. Maybe
it's not completely without precedent in the comics. So I mean, it's not that might not be a bad guess. All right, next up, Alan also writes, "Hey, John, I saw an article on The Hollywood Reporter and Variety that said Hannah John Kamen will star in Millennium Films' adaptation of Red Sonja. This came out about a week ago. Yeah. I loved her in Ant-Man 2 as Ghost, and she is a beautiful, talented actress. What do you think of this news?" I mean, I'll be honest with you. I don't know what to think of it, Rob. I remember 10 years ago, was it, when Robert Rodriguez and who was he dating at the time? Who was going to play
McGowan?
Red Sonja? What's that?
Is it Rose McGowan?
It was Rose McGowan. Thank you.
Yeah.
So Robert Rodriguez, for those you may not remember, it was about a decade ago. Robert Rodriguez was going to make a Red Sonja movie with his at the time girlfriend Rose McGowan. They even made a poster of it. Remember that, Rob? They had an artist rendition of a poster for it and all this kind of stuff, and it just never happened. Now, this isn't Warner Brothers, and it's not Legendary, and it's not Disney, and it's not Paramount. So I don't really know if this will actually go all the way through with Millennium. And even if it does, I suspect it's not going to be a theatrical release movie. I have a feeling it's probably going to be a straight to VOD sort of thing. So I honestly didn't pay much attention to it. But I did love her in Ant-Man 2. I did. Yep. But I know, Rob, do you think there's a market today for a Red Sonja retelling?
Well, I mean, look, I always believe, clearly we've had a lot more sword and sorcery and fantasy kind of epics than we used to. And I could see, again, if it's a good story, good characters, why not? You know, I think if it's kick-ass, I think there definitely is a market, but it has to be good.
Yeah, that's always the key. Is it going to be good? All right, next up, Not Kevin Feige writes, Wakanda Forever is the name of a comic series, though. I don't see how that's a problem in any way, shape, or form. It's not really, it doesn't matter. The comics are the comics, the movies are the movies. It doesn't matter. All right, next up, Bojax writes, "Hey, John, I demand a recount. I'm talking about your poll to move the show to 12 p.m. Looking at the results, 47% didn't care. So that should win, right? Especially if you combine it with the 18% that voted for 12. Recount, John, recount." No, so what I did was when I put up the poll asking people if we wanted it at 10 or at 12, and then I made a part of it, or do you not care because you don't watch it live? Because a lot of people watch the show after we do the live stream. So we took those out. And out of the people who did say they had a preference between 10 and 12, more than double of the people who responded said they preferred the 10 a.m. start time. And so that's why we went with that, and why we didn't take into consideration the number of people who said, well, they don't watch it live, so it doesn't affect them one way or the other. So that's why we went with that, Bojax. That's why we went with that. But thanks for asking, man. All right, next up. Not Kevin Feige writes, Clarice is nowhere near as good as Hannibal, but Paul Krendler makes it worth watching. He's a douche in the novels and movies and still is in the show, but is more human at the same time. Should have retitled the show Kendler instead. Now, Rob, I have not watched a single episode of this Clarice show. Of course, they launched a Silence of the Lambs spin-off show in a way called Clarice, focusing on, the Clarice character. And as far as I understand, Hannibal Lecter is not in the show, as far as I understand. So I haven't watched a single episode of this. I have no interest in it. I'm not saying it's bad because I haven't seen it. I'm just saying I just don't have interest in it. Rob, I can't remember if you've watched any of the series. If so, what do you think?
I watched the pilot. Out of curiosity. Now, you have to understand, I think Brian Fuller's Hannibal adaptation is one of the great horror shows, if not the greatest horror television show ever done. And in terms of a nightmarish adaptation of Thomas Harris's original source material, I thought it was wonderful. And he could never get the rights. Brian Fuller could never get the rights to Silence of the Lambs because he couldn't get, for whatever reason. That's the reason they've got some weird rights issues, which is why Clarice, and she was introduced in the book Silence of the Lambs, but they can't use Hannibal. So I thought, based on if you judge Clarice, which comes after Hannibal, so it should, I would assume, at least be as good as Hannibal, is a crushing disappointment on every level. And I was incredibly disappointed by it, as I love Thomas Harris's Hannibal Lecter novels. I read them all when they came out, and I just was like, wow, this is really, really lackluster and disappointing. So not good.
All right. Next up, Bojax writes, since it's hard for you to pay attention to the live chat, one benefit to 12 p.m. is that you can catch any late-breaking stories that happen around noon or later during the show, like today's news of NBC cancellation of the 2022 Golden Globes. But here's what I found, Bojax. Here's what I found. I found that when I did do shows later in the day, there would still be news that breaks after it. Like the news doesn't stop coming at noon. And I would find that like some significant stories would drop around 3, 4, 5 p.m. sometime. So it's almost like no matter when I do the show, I'm going to miss some things that day. And if I miss something, how long until I have to? So that part of it, I realized back in the AMC and Collider days, as we were toying around with launch times at the time, I realized it doesn't really matter when we launch a show as far as getting the breaking news, because there's always news breaking. And so if I launch at 5, I'm going to miss that comes later. If I launch at noon, I'm going to miss what comes later. It's so that part is really a non-factor. That part's actually a non-factor. All right. Next up, where are we at here? We are at, that was Bojax. Actually, not in Bojax. Richard Hearn writes, hey, John and Rob, happy early birthday, Rob. John, Walmart owes you money. I'll take it. At all this time, you referred to John Walker as Walmart Captain America. Well, now Walmart has an exclusive Marvel Legends figure, Captain America, John F. Walker figure. Coincidence? I think not. Damn right Walmart owes me. Actually, you know what, Rob? Walmart does owe me money. Literally, they do. I cannot even remember the product. But I had bought a product and I registered it. And then like a year later, I got this notification in the mail that there was a class action lawsuit against Walmart because of something about that product. And I was included in the thing. And then about 2 years later, I found out that, the settlement had been reached and I was entitled to something like $3.58 or something like that. So to this day, Walmart owes me money. I'm just going to throw that out there. They do owe me money, man. All right, next up, Timothy writes, or did we get Richard? Yes, we did. Timothy writes, 1 of 2. I rewatched Osmosis Jones. I haven't watched that in forever.
Yeah.
I rewatched Osmosis Jones for the first time in years, and I forgot how much I love this ridiculous movie. I know Warner Brothers won't do it, but if there's a time to make a sequel to this movie, it's now. I envisioned they would make coronavirus as the villain, but like I said, Warner Brothers would never do this, but it honestly would make for an intriguing story. By the way, the movie turns 20 this year. Yeah, and I'll be honest with you, Rob, sometimes we hear how old movies are and we think it can't be that old. I wouldn't have been surprised if you told me Osmosis Jones was 30 years old. I don't know why. It was never one of my favorites. And I don't know that today doing a lighthearted comedy about coronavirus that's killed like nearly 700,000 Americans, I don't know that this is the time to do that. But I think you're right though, Timothy. There'll never be a sequel to Osmosis Jones. A reboot at some point in the future, maybe. But I don't know, Rob, do you think the world is ready for Osmosis Jones again? What do you think?
Well, my first inclination, John, would be to say no. But then on the other hand, again, if somebody has a great take on the material, I always want to go in thinking maybe this could be good. Because again, it takes a lot of effort and time to get a movie made. And if they get the right cast and they get the right story, I mean, I will watch anything with great characters and a great story. And I believe that you can make anything good. Well, maybe not certain things, but for the most part, hope springs eternal for me when it comes to things. Osmosis Jones, look, I think that's a great title.
It is a great title. It's a great character name, too.
It's a great title.
All right, let's move on. Next up, Sam Weiser Gamgee writes, John, someone asked you the other day about your favorite bug movie. For me, that's easy. Them, 1954. Giant irradiated ants in the desert. James Whitmire, James Arness, Edmund Gwenn, Joan Weldon, and Fess Parker, pre-Davy Crockett. It's a sci-fi masterpiece. I believe I remember that movie, Rob. With
the giant ants, you can't go wrong with one of the great sounds. The sounds of the ants in that movie are great.
What was the ant movie? I think it was like in the 80s. There was some ant movie where it's like, they never became giant, but all the ants became like sentient and they would.
Oh, I have that. It's 70s and it's called Phase 4.
Okay.
I have it on Blu-ray. Man, that is a creepy movie. And it was actually directed by Saul Bass. It was the only feature he directed, and Saul Bass designed a lot of great poster art, key art, and opening credit sequences for movies like Hitchcock and things like that, and Otto Preminger, Anatomy of a Murder. And he only directed one feature, and it was that movie. And it recently came out on Blu-ray from 101 Films in the UK. Great package, which I have. That movie's really, really creepy.
It was creepy. All right, next up. We've got, you misunderstood my question, writes. When I asked about your favorite superhero show finale, I meant the finale of a season, not the show entirely, because I agree as a whole, Boys, Doom Patrol, Umbrella Academy are overall better. But regarding season finales, I have to go with Flash Season 1 or Invincible. I mean, I don't know. You're asking me to remember specific finales, and I don't really remember that stuff much. I don't think about them very often. See, the Invincible finale was great. It was, but it was also rather simple. I mean, it was just a lot of blood and carnage and this conversation between the dad saying, humans are meaningless, and the son saying, no, they're not. And that's the thing. And I loved it. It's very visceral and I enjoyed it a lot, but I wouldn't rank the Invincible finale up there amongst my favorites. But I don't know, because I don't honestly, I can't, even my favorite shows of all time, I can never tell you specific episodes and I can never tell you episode names. And I don't remember often which ones were finales and which ones weren't. I don't know, Rob, when you think about, you're better at that stuff than I am, remembering that stuff. But when you think of all the various superhero genre TV stuff we have, do you have a favorite season finale?
I don't know if I have a favorite season finale. I mean, you know what? In terms of superhero shows, I really like the finale of Umbrella Academy Season 1. When the moon was going to rain down on the earth.
Oh, that was so good. That was a terrific cliffhanger, too.
Yeah. I was like, and Elliot Page was there and his powers were being activated. And I thought, a really great way to end that first season.
The second season had a terrific finale as well, with them showing,
Yeah.
came up, hey,
Yeah.
Dad, who are these douchebags? It's like that. That was a terrific finale as well. That one was really good too.
Really
All
good.
right. Let's move on here. Willow writes, I initially had no interest in Invincible. Neither did I. But hearing you and everyone else rave about the series, got me to check it out, and I absolutely loved it. Just when I thought that Homelander was as bad as they come, Omni-Man says, hold my beer. Yeah, listen, one of the great things, Rob, it's always funny. We talk about this not just in comic book stuff, but really the action genre as a whole, going all the way back to the great, action films of the 80s and things like that. A great villain goes so far. A great villain goes so far. Whether it's a Hannibal Lecter, or whether it's a Hans Gruber, or whether it's a Darth Vader, or whether it's whatever, a great villain will really carry your show far. And there's so much great about The Boys. But man, you take a show like The Boys and you put in a Homelander, like a really compelling, multiple dimensional villain. Omni-Man. I mean, the ending of episode 1 of Invincible, I wasn't enthralled because of, ooh, look at all the brains coming out of their splattered heads. It was because, okay, story-wise, this is intense, what they're doing. Why did Omni-Man just do that? What is going on? And when you have a great villain like an Omni-Man, like a Homelander, man, it just goes so far. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, yeah, I mean, dude, I mean, anything is made by its villain. And one of the things about Omni-Man is, especially when there's a great villain reveal, I mean, do you want to call it that? And if it's a great reveal, it's even better.
Yeah.
And I think that when you think about your favorite, whether it's movies or television, everyone has a favorite villain. I mean, let's go all the way back to Star Wars. I mean, one of the great villain entrances is when Vader walks through the door onto the blockade runner at the beginning of the first 10 minutes of Star Wars. It's great.
Yeah.
And you're like, all right, that dude's bad. And you're in, and I think Hans Gruber in Die Hard, you can't go wrong with a good villain. Hannibal Lecter.
Hannibal Lecter. All right, next up, we've got Jay Bling writes, when I said I don't enjoy popcorn at the theaters as much as I used to, it was a sentiment I've had well before the pandemic. I can't explain it. It just hasn't felt the same for years. Yeah, listen, the funny thing is, I'm not actually a big popcorn guy, like at all. I never eat popcorn. I'm not huge on the taste of popcorn. But for whatever, like I said before, the way I've described it is I have a Pavlovian's response to the movie theater. The moment I go into the movie theater or even start thinking about the movie theater, my mouth starts to water for movie popcorn. Even though I don't think, oh my God, this is the most delicious thing in the world. I just have to have it. I just got to have it, Rob. You know what's funny? Especially with A-List. With AMC A-List, you get automatic free upgrades. So if you buy a medium popcorn, you get a free upgrade to a large popcorn, right? So I always end up with a large popcorn, but it's always the same. I get my popcorn, the bag's about this big, I eat it down to about this much, and then I stop eating. As long as I get like about 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 good handfuls of popcorn in my mouth, my urge is satisfied, and then I just don't eat the rest of it. It's really such a waste. But yeah, do you have a favorite food, Rob? Like when you go to the movies, which unfortunately can't be the ArcLight anymore, but when you get yourself out to the movies there, do you have what's the first thing you go for food-wise?
Well, when I was growing up, I always loved hot tamales. That was my go-to movie candy. It's hard to find hot tamales anymore. And people used to say, oh, you only like hot tamales because nobody else likes cinnamon candy. I'm like, whatever. I love cinnamon candy. But I think my go-to is popcorn with a good dusting of salt along with peanut M&Ms. Because I like the taste of the salty popcorn with chocolate and peanuts.
You know what's funny? The first time, I'm going to see if I can find this picture because you just mentioned putting M&Ms in your stuff, right? In your popcorn.
And people put them, I mean, I don't usually put them in my popcorn, but I know people who do.
I don't know if it's a Canadian American thing, but I have never even heard of anybody. Like, obviously, when I get my popcorn, I slather it in butter because to me, popcorn, the main reason for the existence of popcorn is that it is a butter delivery device. That's all popcorn is to me. It's a butter delivery device. So the first thing I do is I just soak my popcorn in butter. I love butter on popcorn. But I've never seen anybody put anything else on it until Clark Gregg, who plays Agent Coulson in the MCU. Clark Gregg came to hang out with me for the day at my studio when we had it at the AMC Burbank 16. And we were doing some interviews, and then we were doing some Q&As with some theaters and introducing them to stuff, right? So he and I are hanging out, and I'm like, "Hey, let me grab you a snack." And he's like, "Oh, great." And I said, "I get some popcorn." I'm like, "Great." And he goes, "Oh, and Raisinets." I'm like, "Great." So I'm thinking he's going to have some popcorn, and then he's going to have some Raisinets. But what this psychopath does is he takes the popcorn, and I don't know if you can see in the top of the bag there, you can see them in there.
Yeah, you can.
He takes his Raisinets, and I'm like, you know those shots in movies where it's like something astonishing happens or shocking happens, and the subject comes closer to the screen while the background goes further back, like, that's what I had.
Oh, yeah.
I had one of those moments as he opened the Raisinets and poured them into his popcorn. And I thought, what the hell is happening? He's like, you guys, you don't eat Raisinets in your popcorn? I never even heard of that. And ever since then, I've heard from people saying they like to put M&Ms in their popcorn, or they like to put something else. I have never, ever done anything like that. I'd never even heard of anything like that in my life. Clark Gregg is dead to me. No, I love Clark Gregg. But, I mean, it was the craziest thing. So have you ever, thrown other stuff in your popcorn?
No, I mean just that. I've tried putting peanut M&Ms and mixing it in with the popcorn, but I have to say I'm a purist. I like popcorn, and then if I have M&Ms, I don't like to mix things. I like to enjoy things individually. My own, it's my own palate. But
I agree.
I could see, I'm not a big raisins fan.
I
but
can't eat raisins. I don't like raisins.
I could see them mixing okay though. Kind of like when you get those trail mixes, you get nuts and raisins in them. It's kind of fun.
Yeah. All right. Next up, we got BK Dan, who writes, John, glad it was a tech issue that prevented the show on Friday. Kept an eye on the community tab and nothing. Feared the worst. Thank you for the update. Yeah, no, for those. So, of course, on Friday, we didn't have a John Campea show because for those people who were already here and they were waiting in the live chat, I couldn't get the show to go. A technical issue arose. We couldn't do the show. And I did let everybody know who was there. I say, hey guys, we're having a tech issue. Can't do the show. And, was that, and of course we talked about it again yesterday. So it is a great thing that we have the technology today that I, from this converted garage, can broadcast a live video show around the world. But it also means we're kind of a slave to the technology. If it doesn't work, you're kind of screwed. So I was a little bit screwed that day. Anyway, thanks for running that in, BK. Next up, BK Dan also writes, John, NBV, I don't know what that means, just announced that they will not show, oh, you probably meant NBC, just announced that they will not show the Golden Globes. Is this a signaling of the end of the Globes? Again, we talked about that extensively at the beginning of the show. I think so. Now, they're saying they're going to reform, we're going to do all this kind of stuff, blah, blah, blah. And I seriously don't know. There's a lot more information to come out, but my guess, and it's just a pure guess right now, my guess is I think the Golden Globes are done. I think the Hollywood Foreign Press and the Golden Globes are done. Maybe not tomorrow, maybe not next month, but, and again, we'll see once more information comes out. Maybe they can make a full recovery. Ryan Lohner writes, the Golden Globes are now getting lectured that they need to be more racially sensitive by Scarlett Johansson. Man, that has to sting. Again, the Scarlett Johansson situation was always way overblown. To me, there was never when you listen to the actual creator of Ghost in the Shell talking about it, and you listen to all the other people involved, I really always thought that Scarlett Johansson thing, personally, I always thought that was blown out of proportion. That's just my personal opinion on that. All right, next up. James L.H. writes, Hey, John, trailers like Venom, which I enjoyed, using only in movie theaters carries so much more meaning now than before, especially now that the UK government made official that the cinemas will reopen next week. Congratulations, guys. I will never again take that phrase for granted. Rob, this is true. You know that old saying, absence makes the heart grow fonder?
I do.
It really is true. Like, there's nothing like going through some crap to force you to appreciate the things that you have and that you're able to do. I remember the first time, as the pandemic was wearing on, the first time Ann and I actually got to go to a restaurant again. And we were just like, I will never take this for granted again. Just the ability to be able to go out together, get a table, be served, have some hopefully good food brought out to you, and just have a night out. And it's like, I just can't believe how much we just even take that for granted. But oh my God, the going to the movies part.
Oh yeah.
It's always been my favorite thing in the world to go to the movies, but I think even I took it for granted because, man, I remember when New Mutants came out and I drove to Vegas for the first time in 6 months to walk into a movie theater. I almost, dude, I'm not kidding. I nearly wept. I will not take that for granted again. And you're going back to the movies this Saturday. Now that you're all fully vaxxed, you got your new thing. What are you doing this Saturday?
Army of the Dead in IMAX at the Chinese. I've got my seats. They've got it all socially distanced. It's one of my favorite. It's all, it's with the absence of the Cinerama, I will go back to the Chinese because the Chinese is still one of the great presentations in LA. It's gigantic screen. They upgraded the system, I think 5 years ago, to be laser projection. The sound is unbelievable. And I'm sure Zack Snyder is going to deliver. The movie's getting some really great notices. And what's not to love? Can't wait.
Yeah.
I'm going to buy popcorn, John.
And I'm going back this weekend again, too, to go see For Those Who Wish Me Dead, the new Taylor Sheridan movie. Yep. I cannot wait for that. All right, next up. And Nazir writes, hey, John, for as long as the city of Shanghai has existed, Western people have always pronounced it Shanghai, not Shanghai, even though Shanghai is closer to the Chinese language. To me, in the English context, I'd say Shang-Chi, like how Kevin Feige said. Now, this came up in a discussion yesterday, for those of you who don't know. Do you pronounce it Shang-Chi as it's spelt, or should you pronounce it Shang-Chi as Simu Liu was kind of saying? And I said, I have no dog in this. I don't care. I don't care how it's supposed to be said. I will say it however it's supposed to be said. But I've heard Kevin Feige say it one way. I've heard other people say it different ways. So once the movie comes out, and we have a definitive pronunciation in the movie, then that's what I'll always go with. Because I don't care if it's Shang-Chi or Shang-Chi. I don't care. It makes no difference to me. I'll say it. I want to say it the right way. But we'll find out truly what is the right way once the movie comes out and we heard it said. And then we'll go, okay, now it's indisputable. That's how it's said. And we're going to go with that. All right, next up. Lily Rico writes, hello, John. I watched The Greatest Showman today for the first time. I love that movie. And I found the movie not amazing, but very charming. One of the scenes that I really enjoyed was the one with Rebecca Ferguson quote unquote, singing. When I found out that she is not the true singer, I was surprised. Why not choose an actress who can sing? I do not believe that a specific actor is necessary for any role, so why do you think they casted Rebecca? Okay, that's a good question. Rob, you've seen The Greatest Showman, yes?
Yeah, because of you.
Right. One of the best
I randomly bought the Blu-ray Steelbook at Best Buy once.
One of the best scenes in the movie that I will pop on YouTube every once in a while because it's simply one of the most awe-inspiring vocal performances I've ever heard is when Rebecca Ferguson's character takes the stage and she sings Never Enough. Towers of gold would be too little. My hands could hold the world and it'll never be enough. It's like the lyrics of that song make me melt inside. They make me melt inside. I love that. And the vocals of it are so powerful and so incredible. So, but as great as she lip synced, it's not actually Rebecca Ferguson singing it. It is like one of the world's greatest vocalists singing it. And I've seen a documentary. I've seen some behind the scenes stuff of the girl that sang it. She's like one of the world's great vocalists. So why didn't they just get an actress who can sing? Because there's no actress who can sing like that girl sang it. That's just it. But it's like asking, well, why didn't they, if there's a scene in a movie where the guy had to climb the side of a mountain and they used a stunt double, why not just get the stunt double to act it? Well, because acting and being a mountain climber are two different things. And through the magic of movies, they can make it look like it's the same person doing that thing. Rebecca Ferguson is an awesome actress. She's an incredible actress. And there's a scene in the movie, whether it's she needs to fly a plane or she needs to climb a mountain or she needs to do 10 backflips or she needs to sing this song. That's not something she can personally do. Fine. Just get somebody else to do that part and make, through the magic of the movies, make it look like they're doing that. Little spoiler alert, Robert Downey Jr. doesn't actually pilot an iron suit of armor flying across the New York City skyline. You may not have known that. Just throwing that out there.
Why
not get somebody who can?
Man?
So, no, I mean, you get a great actress to perform the role, and if there's a scene that the character needs to do something that the actor cannot do, whether it's 10 backflips or drive a car in and out with skill and precision, a roadway in a chase scene. No, you get a stunt man to do that. And if it's a part that needs a song, then get a world-class vocalist. But again, it's different from getting a actress who can sing versus if you saw The Greatest Showman and that scene where she sings Never Enough, that's like one of the world's great vocal performances. Get a vocalist to do that part, get an actor and actress to do something else, because the acting comes first. The performance comes first. Everything else becomes secondary. I don't know, Rob, how would you address that? What's your take on that?
Well, movies are make-believe. And the people have been lip syncing in movies since, sound was a thing. So I don't have a problem with that. I mean, look, in the James Bond movie Goldfinger's voice is dubbed. It's not even the actor's real voice. And they used to do that a lot. So it doesn't bother me that people lip sync in movies, because nothing in a movie is real. It's an illusion that we've bought into. Like, no one's on a foreign planet. There really isn't monsters like this that live in the world. In Excalibur, the Knights of the Round Table didn't look like that. I mean, it's when we buy into a movie, all of it is phony, all of it. And yet, verisimilitude, my favorite word. If you can create reality, well, then you win. And I've never had a problem with people lip syncing, especially if the lip sync is really, really good. Does it matter? Because within the film itself, within what you're watching, everything else is fake. So why, if you have somebody that can lip sync really well and you've got a great voice, isn't that exactly just another example of, there's no dinosaurs in Hawaii either, but when they went and filmed Jurassic Park, they were able to film in Hawaii and add dinosaurs. You believe it. Now,
here's a great example, Rob, because Lily, the question Lily raises is actually pretty interesting, because if you look at other things like Hugh Jackman sings his own parts.
Sure.
Michelle, what's Michelle's last name?
Williams.
Michelle Williams sings her own part and all that kind of stuff. And if you look at one of my top 20 favorite films of all time, Moulin Rouge, Ewan McGregor and Nicole Kidman sing their own parts. Let's talk about that for a second. So Ewan McGregor sings his own parts in that, including my favorite part of of Moulin Rouge is when he sings, "You can tell everybody this is your song." Like, that's my favorite part of that movie, right? And I'm truly impressed with the singing that Ewan McGregor does in it. But while I am impressed, the vocal performance is not a soul-shaking vocal performance. At that scene in The Greatest Showman, when that character is standing on that stage in the opera house and singing Never Enough, that is supposed to be the kind of performance that is shaking the souls of everybody sitting in that audience, shaking the soul of Hugh Jackman's character, all that kind of stuff. And that kind of performance is not something that a Nicole Kidman or a Ewan McGregor or whatever can do. So you get the actress to play it. And by the way, there was only one song number that she had. Maybe I'd feel differently if Rebecca Ferguson was in the entire movie and she had like 5 different song numbers. then I'd say, okay, maybe you get a singer, but it was the one number, so to me, it was what it was. Anyway, Rob, we've kept you overtime here today, dude. Thanks so much for being here. Congrats on getting your second vaccination shot. Super excited that you're going back to the movies this Saturday. I would come with you, except I'm going to go see a different movie. Plus, I got the UFC this Saturday, so I got to watch that too. But anyway, dude, thanks for being here. In the meantime, where can people follow you and your awesomeness online?
You can find me on Instagram, Robert Meyer Burnett. Find me on Twitter at BurnettRM, or find me on my YouTube channel, The Burnett Work.
All right, dude. Thanks again for being here. Always good to have you here, and we'll talk to you again soon. Have a good one, man.
Okay.
Ladies
Bye-bye.
and gentlemen, the one and the only Mr. Robert Meyer Burnett. Now they can take these headphones off and put these over here. Give me a second. All right, we still have some time here, guys, so let's keep going through your questions, shall we? The next one up comes to us from Admiral Ozzel. Comes, John, as you have no doubt already covered, NBC has canceled the Golden Globes. Which award show will assume its place of eminence behind the Oscars? Do you think there's any chance NBC will make a deal with the Razzies? Well, the Razzies are just a goof. I mean, I love the Razzies, but the Razzies are just a goof. I mean, it's just a goof, fun little thing to do. I honestly don't know what could take its place as the truly second place awards presentation. I don't think it'll be SAG. I don't think it'll be the Directors Guild. I don't think it'll be the Producers Guild. I don't think it'll, at one point I would have said the Broadcast Film Critics Society, the Broadcast Film Critic Association that do the Critics' Choice Awards. I think there would have been a time when that could have become the number two, but they've sold out too much. Like, they started doing what the Golden Globes did. I used to love the Critics Awards. I used to love the Critics Awards. And like I said, I have many friends who are in the Broadcast Film Critic Association, but they started to introduce a whole bunch of these bullshit categories just so they could give out more awards and honor the popular movies. And as soon as they started to do that, I just stopped paying attention to them. The Critics' Choice Awards used to be my second favorite award show. It used to be my second favorite award show, but after they started introducing all these BS categories just so they could get more attention, I'm like, you lost credibility to me, and I stopped watching it. Not that I have any credibility, so who cares about that? But so I honestly don't know. I don't know what could be the true legit number two. Definitely not like, I see some people saying a People's Choice Award. No, fuck that. I don't want people who saw 4 movies last year to vote on what was the best movie of the year. That's always been my problem with like the MTV Movie Awards and the People's Choice Awards, things where you get the public to vote. I don't want people voting who saw 6 movies last year to have a vote and influence what gets called Movie of the Year. So nothing that is fan voted. I reject anything that's fan voted. So I don't know. It's just, we'll see where they go. Okay, guys, listen. We're going to keep going here, but I'm going to take just a quick break here. We're just going to take a quick little break here. Give me about 2 or 3 minutes. I'm going to go refill my drink, give you guys a chance to talk amongst yourselves. Hang in there, guys. Don't go anywhere. We will be right back. All right, guys, and we are back. Thank you so much for your patience and indulgence as I took a little bit of a break there. Let's get back to your live questions now, shall we? That was Admiral Ozzel. Next up, we've got Peter Cunnington, who writes, I agree with you, John. I really hated the movie Thunder Force, but it seems that a lot of people watch. Do you think they actually liked it? And apparently Melissa McCarthy is doing another movie with her husband where she plays Mrs. Claus. I heard thoughts. Yeah, listen. Of course, a lot of people watched it. It's a Melissa McCarthy comedy. I think Melissa McCarthy is really great. I watched it, but just because people watched it doesn't mean people liked it. It's horrible. And you know what? Out of curiosity, let me look. I've never checked this out, so let me see. Let me see where I'm at here. 1 second. Thunder Force, Rotten. I don't know. Maybe all the critics love Thunder Force. I don't know. I've never checked it out. Okay, so Thunder Force right now is sitting, oh my God, at 21%. Why does Thunder Force have 21%? That is 20% too high. And 22% of people liked it. All right. Whatever. I mean, this is why we always say, guys, this is why we always say that movies are subjective. I saw one of the worst pieces of film ever created by the industry, but 1 out of every 5 critics and 1 out of every 5 audience members seem to like it. That's the beauty of film, guys. That's the beauty of the pure subjectivity of film, I suppose. All right. Thanks for that. But no, I hate it. That movie's so bad. How does 1 in 5 people like that thing? I mean, yeah, it's all subjective, but I mean, it is so bad. It's so bad. But hey, that's the subjectivity of film, guys. All right, next up, BK Dan writes, John, totally agree with you as far as the Dumbledore / T'Challa comparison you did on Monday's show. Yeah, so somebody was saying that, well, you can't recast T'Challa because it'll just feel weird when you see somebody else on screen playing Black Panther. And yeah, of course it'll feel weird for a minute. It absolutely will feel weird for a minute. But then our brains adjust and then we move forward. Just like when, Richard Harris, who was a great Dumbledore in the Harry Potter franchise, when he passed away, did they just write Dumbledore out of the story? No. Because Dumbledore is a beloved and important character. So what they did was they went out and got somebody else to play the role. Was that insulting to the memory of Richard Harris? Of course not. It was honoring Richard Harris by continuing that on. And Michael Gambon came in and played him. And guess what? At first, it felt weird to all of us that that's not Richard Harris playing Dumbledore. This is a different Dumbledore. It did feel weird. But then we adjusted. And once our minds adjusted, then it was fine. And that's what would happen with that moving forward. Anyway, that's just my take on it. All right, thanks for that, BK. BK also writes, John, with Christmas coming, can't wait for Mando Season 3. Can't wait for Grogu to finally talk, to hear him say his second word, then his first. Yeah, somebody else wrote in that exact same joke the other day. Get it? Because Yoda speaks reverse. Get it? Says the second word first, then his first word. Get it? Aha, drum shot. Okay, next up. We got Jaron Morris, who writes, that scene where Mark Invincible is holding up that building and holding on to that mom and daughter, begging them to hold on. Don't be afraid, and I got you. When deep down he knew he couldn't do it, but tried his hardest, was truly heartbreaking. Listen, there are moments in that thing, like overall, Invincible's just such a good show. It's just such a good show. Like for so many different reasons and on so many different levels. It's just so well done. But that, to me, that moment was probably the most horrifying of the entire series, because he's holding on to this woman, trying to save her, and then the building comes down anywhere, and he thinks he still has her, and then he realizes now he's just holding the arm. That's all that's left is the arm. And that was a moment that was truly, truly disturbing. In the best way possible. That moment was truly, truly disturbing in the best way possible. All right, next up. Timothy writes, you know what's so weird about Iron Man in 2008? After he gets rescued, Tony wants a cheeseburger. Who can blame him there? But in what world do we live in where somebody who lives in California would choose Burger King over In-N-Out? Makes no sense at all. All right, I'm going to say something that a lot of my film-loving brothers and sisters in LA are going to find blasphemous. In-N-Out Burger sucks. All right? Okay, there. I said it. It needed to be said. In-N-Out Burger sucks. One of the biggest points of contention in my marriage, if there's anything that threatened the sanctity of my marriage, was the fact that I will not let me and Ann go to In-N-Out. And because my wife Ann loves In-N-Out Burger, just like all the other zombie dweebs living in California. In-N-Out Burger. I remember, true story, first time I ever came to LA. A friend of mine named Marty, and his wife, who is was the big film journalist for Time Magazine and now the Los Angeles Times and everything. They invited me to stay with them when I first flew into LA. And my buddy picks me up at the airport, and even before we go to his house, he says, "I'm going to take you to the best burgers in the world." My buddy Marty says to me, "Best burgers in the world." And we go to this place, In-N-Out Burger, and there's a giant line, huge line, because apparently they have somehow brainwashed all of Angelenos and Californians to believing their burgers are any good. And I'm like, okay, great. I'll have this, this, and this on my burger. And they're like, oh, we don't have any of that stuff. I'm like, you don't have any of these things I want on my burger? No. All right. Well, what do you have? So fine. I got a couple of cheeseburgers. And I bit into it, and it's not like it tasted like horse crap. It's not like that at all. But I bit into it, and I'm like, there is literally nothing special about this burger. It is this crappy little patty on these crappy half-stale buns, and there is absolutely nothing remarkable about this. I'm like, I honestly would have preferred a cheeseburger at McDonald's over this. And it remains to this day to be a point of great contention in my marriage and in the friendships that I have with people I know who live in Los Angeles. It's like you're that one moron in your circle of friends that believes in flat earth and everybody just kind of puts up with that. That's how my friends in Los Angeles like, oh yeah, love John. Yeah, we great friends. We hang out all day. You know, he doesn't like In-N-Out Burger. And you still hang out with him? I'm telling you, I don't understand it. They have some kind, and yes, Timothy McAfee, Harvey's has the best fast food. Harvey's has the best fast food burgers in the business. Harvey's Burgers, which is a Canadian fast food chain, best burgers in the business. Out of all the other Canadian chains, out of all the American chains, out of anything, Harvey's has the best burgers. Harvey's has the best burgers. But yeah, man, you come to California, I kid you not, my film-loving brothers and sisters, you come to California, there is a cult-like following of In-N-Out Burger here. Like cultish following of In-N-Out Burger. Which is crazy because it's not even any good. But anyway, that's just me. Next week, you'll see me eating In-N-Out Burger saying, thank you to our new sponsors, In-N-Out Burger. Delicious. Anyway. Let's move on here, shall we? Next up, Jesse writes, how did I get on that tangent? I'm not even sure. All right. The first trailer for The Green Knight just dropped. Yeah, we talked about that earlier this morning. And I'm not sure what I expected, but it certainly wasn't that. I really dug it, and it almost gave me God of War 2018 vibes. This movie just went from not even on my radar to eagerly anticipating. It was on my radar before. Like back before the pandemic. I mean, if for no other reason than the Arthurian legend, Dev Patel, I'm on board with it, but this trailer was really good. That trailer was really good. And I am not just intrigued and interested in this movie. I'm excited for this movie. Can't wait to watch it. Thanks for sharing that, Jesse. Next up, Brooks Kirk writes, hey, John, hope you're doing well. I am doing well, thank you. Not sure if you'll see this today. It is today, but it's May 11th, which is today, aka my birthday, and I am now 30 years old. I'm going to eat my favorite restaurant tonight. Then I will go home, treat myself to my favorite movie ever, The Lion King. Brooks, Happy birthday to you, sir. May you have a glorious birthday ahead of yourself and a glorious year filled with triumph and victory. And I hope you have a great one, man. Happy birthday to you and enjoy that movie tonight. That is my all-time favorite animated movie is The Lion King. So have some fun tonight, man. All right, next up, Narf writes, if I'm not mistaken, there has... I think you probably meant hasn't been. There hasn't been any comedy movies lately in theaters in the past year or so. I got a news flash for you, Narf. There haven't been any movies in theaters in the last year or so, let alone comedies. In the past year or so, what gives? Are there any coming out in 2021? Best thing I can say, Narf, just hop on Google, do a quick search for comedies 2021. Like I'll just do that quickly right now here. Comedy movies 2021. So see, what do we got lined up here? I'm sure we got a bunch. Well, Mitchell's versus the Machines, yeah. Happily, I think already came out. Tom and Jerry. Oh, Yes Day, no, that already came out. Yeah, I don't know. Off the top of my head, we got Free Guy. Free Guy's coming. That's kind of action, but that's a comedy. We've got The Hitman's Bodyguard's Wife. That's a comedy. Also action, but it's primarily a comedy. So that one's coming out. So I'd have to think about them. I don't have them off the top of my head, but I'm sure there are a bunch of them as well. All right. Next up, we've got another one from Narf who writes in, I'm wondering when cities in the U.S. open theaters eventually at 100% capacity, how will it affect the movie-going audience as a whole? If someone takes off their mask to eat or drink, will the stranger next to them mind it, even if it's for very brief moments? You know, I was thinking about that the other day, Narf. Like, I personally am more comfortable right now with there being limited seating capacity. I like going into the movie theaters right now knowing that nobody is sitting beside me other than maybe the people I came with. And I personally like that. Now, maybe once we get further into a post-pandemic world and more people are getting their vaccinations and all that kind of stuff, once that starts to happen, maybe I'll start to feel more comfortable with it. Like, I mean, I'm vaccinated. I should be fine with it now already, but I got to admit, even I feel more comfortable with having a little bit of space in the theater. So it all depends on how quick they try to do it, Narf. Like if they try to do it tomorrow, it'll deter a lot of people. Like I know people who are going back to the movies already, but may not if they know they're going to be sitting right beside strangers. So I don't know, but in 2 or 3 months from now, that could be totally different. So I guess it all depends on when they start to roll it out. I think it all depends on how much more time they give it to roll it out. All right. Melcorzilla writes, I've watched a bunch of new Bruce Willis movies lately. He seems to be doing a lot of low-budget straight-to-streaming films, and he just looks like he's only there for the money. Like he can't even be bothered. He used to be a great actor. What happened? Oh, I personally think you just nailed it. He doesn't care anymore. When Bruce Willis wants to be a great actor, he is a great actor. But he hasn't given a shit for years. He just doesn't care. And so nobody puts him in the higher budget stuff anymore. And it's only the lower budget straight to video stuff that people will be willing to pay for anymore. And for that, he even cares less. Bruce Willis is a great actor when he cares. I remember, what was the one I just saw him in? Again, damn it. I got to look it up now. Give me 1 quick second to look this up. Bruce Willis, IMDb. I can't believe that I'm forgetting the name of the movie that I just watched him in, considering it's a remake and everything. Jeez. Oh my goodness. Where is it? Death Wish. Death Wish. I watched him in Death Wish, which I was very excited about. Death Wish. I was very, very excited to see him in Death Wish. Of course, it was a remake of the classic film. But you had Eli Roth directing it. I thought the trailers looked pretty good. And then I went in and watched it. And it was like, oh my God. Like literally, Bruce Willis looks like he's sleepwalking through the movie. He just didn't give a shit. You want to know how much he doesn't give a shit? Check this out. That was 2018 was Death Wish. He's done Reprisal, Airstrike, Glass. Well, he just did a voice for Lego Movie 2. He did a little guest spot on the thing. He did Motherless Brooklyn, Between Two Ferns. I love him on Between Two Ferns, actually. 10 Minutes Gone, Trauma Center, Survive the Night, Hard Kill. This is all just in the last 2 years. Hard Kill, Die Hard is Back, which was the short film he did. And look at how much he's got in production right now. He's just doing like a million movies because he just doesn't care. He doesn't care. So yeah, I will always love Bruce Willis for all the stuff that he's done. I will always like think of Bruce Willis and go, yeah, Bruce Willis. But I will never give a shit about any of his new stuff because he doesn't give a shit about his new stuff. So if he doesn't give a shit about his new stuff, why should any of the rest of us care? So yeah, this is kind of my take on that. Anyway, it's really too bad because the dude is awesome. The dude is awesome when he's actually, like I said, when he's actually trying and when he actually puts effort into it, he's pretty good. But it is what it is. All right, next up, we go to Narf, who writes 1 of 2. I do apologize if this was asked before, but since I don't watch the show so often, I may have missed the question. Anyways, wanted to know what your thoughts on Bad Batch. To me, it's just okay, not great. Not sure where they're leading to. They're leading this to. Into me, not sure where they're leading this to. Into me, I'm done with Clone Wars, especially clones, but hey, it's Star Wars, so I'll watch. Just wish they moved way forward into time, like after the OG trilogy or something further. Yeah, I did talk about Bad Batch the other day. Look, I actually got to watch the first 2 episodes of Bad Batch long before the show premiered. And I don't like Clone Wars. Like, I like Rebels, but I didn't like Clone Wars. Bad Batch is pretty good. Like, I don't think it's great, but it's pretty good. And pardon me, coming from me, that's saying something, because I did not like the episodes of Bad Batch in the final season of Clone Wars was terrible. That Bad Batch set of episodes in the Clone Wars final season, awful garbage. So I really didn't have any expectations. But I thought that first 71-minute episode of Bad Batch, it was all right. It was pretty good. And I'm as of right now, I am intending to continue to watch it week to week. And we'll see. I don't know. Maybe it'll start to suck. But right now, I got to say I kind of like it. Which again is kind of surprising to me, but I'm into it so far. All right, next up. Last one of the day here, guys. Then we got to wrap it up. An anonymous viewer writes, so excited to get back to the movies. So agreeing with you, Anonymous, on that. Just got tickets to see Black Panther with live orchestra at the Hollywood Bowl. Hold on a second. F that. Is that actually happening? Let me see here. Hold on a second. Because I go to the Star Wars in concert every year at the Hollywood Bowl. Black Panther Hollywood Bowl. Let me see if I can find this. Black Panther comes to the Hollywood Bowl. Where are my tickets? Holy crap, June 7th, the Backstreet Boys are coming. Okay, I don't know where the tickets are yet. I got to find the tickets, whatever they cost. I'm probably going to end up, even if I have to scalp them, I'm probably going to pay for it. Yeah, I don't care what I got to pay for a scalp. Because the score, like I'm not even talking about the songs in Black Panther. The score in Black Panther, which I believe is done by the same guy who did the score for Mandalorian. The score in Black Panther is so freaking good. Like, so good that I would love to go and see that. Anyway, okay, guys. That'll do it for today's installment of the John Campea Show. Thank you so much, guys, for being here and being a part of the show today. Thank you to Robert Meyer Burnett for bringing his glory and goodness. And a special thank you to all of you guys who sent in those live comments and questions. There are a few more who got sent in after that last one. Do not worry. We will start off tomorrow's show with yours. When we get into the live questions part of the show tomorrow, we will start off with the ones that you guys just sent in. So don't worry about that. But for now, guys, that'll do it for me. Thanks again for being here. Remember, guys, do the 4 main things. things. Stay smart, stay safe, take care of yourselves, and please take care of the people around you, my friends. We'll be back again tomorrow, again at our regular start time tomorrow at 10 a.m. Thanks for indulging our special start time today. So that'll do it for now, guys. Thanks a lot for being here. My name's John Campea, and until next time, my friends, bye-bye.